Good morning, everybody. So, believe you can hear me. I think I have a phone mic on for today. I think that's a lot better. Believe it should be connected to my phone mic. So, this week's topic would be smart giving. Continuing the series within smart donating and how you should donate, and just raise awareness towards the homeless community in my area of Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, and internationally. So, smart giving. Imagine this: you walk into your kitchen, open your pantry, and you see cranberry sauce that's been sitting there since last Thanksgiving. You think, maybe I'll donate this to the food drive at school. And you're right, your heart's in the right place, but even the kindest donations don't even help food banks. They don't really help the organizations. They don't help anybody. I want to talk about smart giving, not just giving, but giving wisely. A very smart and important distinction. Because every can, every dollar, every action we take has a ripple effect far beyond what we can see. I once read about the story of Laura from Kansas City. She had volunteered at a local food bank for nearly 5 years. Every weekend, she would organize the shelves, pack food boxes, and meet with families waiting patiently in line. So why? Oh my god. I was muted this entire time? How do I redo this? That is horrid. Well, it's fine. I'll just cut this out when the YouTube video comes out. Let me redo this. When I cut this YouTube video, this will be edited out. Funny. I'm really sorry about that. Imagine this. You walk into your kitchen, open your pantry, and see a can of cranberry sauce that's been sitting there since last Thanksgiving. You think, maybe, hey, I'll donate to the food drive at school. And you're right. Your heart's in the right place. But what if I told you that sometimes, even the kindest donations create challenges for food banks, the very organizations that we're trying to help? Today, I wanted to talk about smart giving. Not just giving, but giving wisely. Because every can, every dollar, every action we take has a ripple effect far beyond what we can see. I once read the story about Laura from Kansas City. She had volunteered at her local food bank for 5 years. Every weekend, she would organize the shelves, pack food boxes, and meet families waiting patiently in line. One day, she shared something that stuck with me. She said, "We receive love in every form, but not all love comes in a usable form." She explained in a blog that sometimes people donate items like canned pumpkin, artichoke hearts, or expired cake mix. Things with good intentions, but not nutritional or practical value. Behind a smile, there was a quiet truth. Every item can't be distributed because it costs time, labor, and sometimes even money to dispose of safely. When I first read her words, I realized something powerful. Charity isn't just about generosity, it's about awareness. Let's zoom out. According to Feeding America, over 44 million people in the United States, including 1 in every 5 children, face food insecurity every year. That's roughly the population of California and New Jersey combined. But there is a hopeful side. Americans love to help. Every year we donate roughly 4 billion pounds of food to food banks and pantries nationwide. But here's a twist. Nearly 40% of all donated food never reaches a plate. Why? Because not all donations are equally useful. Some are expired. Some require refrigeration that small food banks can handle. Some others come in forms that families can't easily cook or store. That means millions of pounds of well-intentioned donations go to waste. Not because we don't care, but because we don't know. So what do food banks truly need? Let's get specific and practical. According to the USDA and Feeding America, the most requested items by food banks across the country are peanut butter and other protein sources, canned tuna, chicken or salmon, shelf-stable milk, canned fruits and juice, not syrup, whole grain pasta or rice, canned vegetables, cooking oil, baby formula and diapers, personal care items like toothpaste, soap, and feminine hygiene products. These are staples that can be distributed easily, stored safely, and actually meet the nutritional needs. Meanwhile, food banks often receive leftover donations like items in glass containers, which can break in transit, refrigerated or frozen goods, which spoil quickly without transportation or refrigeration in transportation. Homemade food which can't be legally distributed due to safety issues. Random holiday foods that don't make a full meal. So next time you donate, think not, what do I have, but what will truly help. Let's talk about the logistics, the unspoken backbone of the food distribution. When a can arrives at a food bank, it doesn't go straight to someone's grocery bag. It has to be sorted, checked for expiration, labeled, and sometimes repackaged and stored. And that process costs money. For instance, the average cost to move and distribute 1 pound of food through a food bank is about 23 cents. That might not sound like much, but to scale it up, a mid-sized food bank handling 20 million pounds of food a year spends over 4.6 million just on these logistics. And then there's refrigeration. Perishable donations like meat, dairy, and produce require cold storage, but nearly 60% of small community food pantries in the US lack reliable refrigeration systems. That means even with the most nutritious donations, they can spoil before they ever reach a plate. So while it feels great to donate a carton of milk, it might actually cost a food bank, both in wasted storage and disposal fees, if they can't refrigerate it properly. They can't refrigerate it properly. I got a lisp. Now, something that surprises a lot of people. When you donate to $1 to a food bank, it could provide up to 10 meals, like we discussed before. How? Because food banks have partnerships with manufacturers, wholesalers, and local farmers that allow them to purchase food at a fraction of retail cost. That same dollar that buys you a single can of soup at the store can buy 5 pounds of fresh produce through the food bank's network. So while physical donations are wonderful, monetary donations often stretch further, helping food banks purchase what they need and when they need it. Whether whether that is bread this week, baby formula next week, or emergency supplies after natural disaster. Cash gives flexibility, and these flexibility saves lives. So let's talk about the changing landscape, the big picture, because food insecurity isn't static. According to the USDA's 2024 Household Food Security Report, food insecurity rates have rose from 10.2% in 2021 to 12.8% in 2023, marking one of the sharpest increases in a decade. Inflation plays a huge role here. Rising grocery prices mean food banks must serve more families with fewer resources. It's not just the unemployed. Roughly 60% of food insecure households include at least one working adult. That's a teacher who skips dinner so her kids can eat, or the delivery driver who chooses between gas and groceries. So when we talk about the hungry, we're not talking about strangers, we're talking about our neighbors. So this is where we come in. We can make small, smart changes that have enormous ripple effects. Here are a few ways we can give more intelligently. Check the shelf life. Food banks cannot distribute expired items, even if they seem good. Prioritize nutrition. High protein, low sugar, and shelf stable goods go the furthest. Think beyond food. Diapers, sanitary products, and cleaning supplies are always in demand. Ask before you give. Many food banks publish their current needs online, and they change monthly. Support your skills. Volunteer to drive, sort, organize, or spread awareness. And when in doubt, donate funds. $1 can often go more than more good than a dollar can often do more good than a can. That's funny. Because smart giving isn't about less, it's about giving right. I would never forget something Laura, the volunteer I mentioned earlier, said at the end of her blog. She recalled one winter when donations suddenly surged after a local news story aired. Her shelves were full, but her freezer was broken. She said, "We had to throw away 300 pounds of donated meat. It broke my heart, not because of the waste, but because someone cared enough to give and we couldn't use it." And that line captures both the beauty and the challenge of generosity. It's not about guilt, it's about understanding. Because when we understand, we can act better and make every gesture count. There's also innovation happening. Some food banks are turning to technology to improve efficiency. Digital inventory systems that track real-time needs. Mobile food pantries reach in rural areas. Food rescue apps that collect unsold restaurant meals before they go to waste. In fact, according to Feeding America, over 3 billion pounds of fresh produce were recovered from farms and retailers last year. Food that might have been wasted, but instead fed families. That's smart given to a national scale. That kind of impact starts with awareness and grows into action in your local community. Let's take a step back. We began with this can of cranberry sauce, a simple object, a symbol of care. Maybe you see it as a choice between what we can give and what we should give. Because when we give wisely, we are not filling shelves, we are filling hearts, feeding families, and feeding hope. So here's my challenge to you. Next time you walk by a food drive bin, ask yourself, does this food meet a real need? Could it be stored and distributed easily? Could my dollar make it an even bigger impact? Because smart giving starts with the small questions that lead to big change. You don't need to donate a truckload of food to make a difference. You just need to donate thoughtfully. Imagine if every donor in America understood the logistics behind a can of beans, the refrigeration behind a jug of milk, the shelf life behind a box of pasta. Imagine if we gave not only with our hearts, but with our heads, our brains, our thoughts, our ideas. We reduce waste. We'll save millions in operational costs. We reach millions more people in need. And that's just the future of giving. Awareness, efficiency, and impactfulness. So, a closing thought. At the end of the day, giving isn't about how much you have, it is about how much you understand. When we combine empathy with insight, heart with intelligence, our generosity becomes unstoppable. So the next time you think about donating, remember, you now you now know what objects you should or shouldn't donate. Based on what's needed, on cost, on logistics, and on love that truly lands where it's meant to. Because when you give smart, you give strong. And when you give strong, you change lives. So remember, look at your local website of your local food pantry. See what they need. See what you can donate to them. Because this smart giving will be much more important than donating a random item for you. Remember, these guys that you're donating to aren't some random stranger, not a bad person. No one's ever a bad person, but not a bad person who who doesn't deserve it. It could be your neighbor. Remember that a lot of these people with food insecurity generally have one working family, but debts from their parents may have been passed down, and just a lot of kids and a hard job market just affects them. So you're donating to help your community, help the people around you, as well with helping people internationally. So remember, donate smart, because donating smart will go a lot longer than donating unwisely. Remember? And if everything fails, just donate that dollar, because that $1, as we talked about earlier, becomes $10 with Food Network connections of pantries. Thank you very much for listening. I'm so sorry about the delay, but yeah, I guess that is it for me today. So our next episode is going to be another great one. So we will be discussing on how we feed our city. So sorry about this. Okay, so on next episode, we'll be discussing how we feed our city. And so this one is mostly going to be about advocating for food bank funding and obviously smarter food bank funding. And we're going to kind of dive into the financial landscape of local food banks. I'm going to break down how the dollar works again, revealing seasonal donation demands and pinpointing critical budget shortfalls. So remember, everyone, check out impactbynumbers.com. That is my website. And everyone have a great, amazing day. See you next week, Friday at 2 p.m. for the series.